Good day, sir. Good day, everyone. I am Jeric Villarmino, together with my fellow members, Balinya Revinjan, Asmod Jude Alison, Bertie Janet, Busayong Mario. We are the Group 2, and our topic is planning and execution of blind pilotage and anchorage. So before we start, we have intended learning outcomes. First, to be able to understand blind pilotage and anchorage. Second, to be able to understand the responsibilities of the navigating officer. And third, to be able to understand the underlying principles involved. So what is blind pilotage? Blind pilotage means the navigating of the ship through restricted waters and low visibility with little or no recourse to the visual observation of objects outside the ship. Assessment of the risk involved in a blind pilotage passage. Although normally the accuracy of blind pilotage is such that a ship can be taken to an open anchorage and anchored within 50 yards of the desired place, the degree of risk involved, particularly in restricted waters, must be carefully assessed. Parallel index technique. The key to blind pilotage is the principle of the parallel index. The running of a parallel index line provides real-time information on the ship's lateral positions relative to the planned track. On the illustration, a line is drawn from the edge of a radar conspicuous object, parallel to the planned track. The perpendicular distance or cross-index range from the object to the track is then measured. The range drawn on the radar is then set to this range, and a solid chronograph line drawn on the display parallel to the planned course on a scale appropriate to the range in use. As you can see here on the chart figure 1, the distance between the index line and ship course is 2 miles. In that way, they can avoid grounding or collision, and also for the safety of the vessel and crew on board. Parallel indexing is a very useful technique that allows the watchkeeper to react almost instantly to any deviation from the planned track and constantly monitor whether the vessel is right of the track, left of the track, or on track. Radar clearing ranges are similarly drawn of the maximum distance from the radar conspicuous object to keep the ship clear of dangers. These are drawn as broken lines. On the figure 2, clearing and wheel over ranges. The broken line is indicated as clearing line and the solid line is ship track. Therefore, the ship can navigate in safety route if she maintains the course through ship track. Next is course alteration, and it will be reported by Revinjan Balinya.
Course alteration. Wheel over positions are calculated and plotted on the charts as for visual pilotage. A radar conspicuous mark as selected is close as possible to the wheel over position. A picked line is drawn through the wheel over position. Parallel to the new course and the cross-index range measure, this wheel over range is plotted on the display as a picked line parallel on the new course. When the selected mark reaches this line, the wheel should be put over and the ship brought round to the new course, by which time the mark should be on the firm line denoting the parallel index for the new course. Responsibilities. In normal circumstances, the navigating officer is the pilot of the ship, although if he is not navigation subspecialist, the duty of pilotage devolves on the captain, who may either perform it himself or at his direction, depute any officer of the ship's complement to do so. No matter what blind pilotage organization may be the subspecialist, navigation officer NO is always the pilot of the ship, and thus he should also be the blind pilotage officer or BPO. Where no navigating subspecialist is born, the officer appointed for navigating duties should also be the blind pilotage officer in normal circumstances. However, as responsibility for pilotage is clearly vested in the captain, he may wish to delegate the blind pilotage duty to some other officer. If so, the captain must also clearly set out his standing orders the circumstances envisaged to ensure that it is absolutely clear who is responsible and when. The conduct of blind pilotage. The navigating officer should remain on the bridge on poor visibility and conduct the blind pilotage from there. It is essential to have another officer who is suitable by training and experience as a blind safety officer or BSO in the operations room where he can monitor the blind pilotage and back up the navigating officer on the bridge. The BSO will need to be in touch with the surface plot to assist with the identification of radar contacts. The essence of this arrangement is that members of the team do not change position. If the visibility changes, the navigating officer conducts the pilotage from the bridge whatever the weather or visibility.
In good visibility, the BSO acts as a useful check on a visual plan and builds up confidence in his team and the command. In marginal visibility, the bridge team continues to make use of any visual information to supplement information from the radar. In nil visibility, the NO conducts the blind pilotage from the bridge radar display monitored by the BSO. If reports from the NO and BSO disagree, immediate action to stop the ship may be necessary until the position has been accurately determined. Blind pilotage team and duties. Blind pilotage requires a high degree of organization and teamwork so that not only are the responsibilities of individuals clearly defined, but also all relevant factors may be considered while accessing the ship's position and her future movements. Suitable arrangements to achieve these are set out in Table 1. These may have to be adjusted depending on the class of ship, the personnel available, and the above comments. General principles. To ensure success, the ship must be accurately navigated along a pre-arranged track in comparatively unrestricted waters. This is best done by constant fixing using radar in conjunction with other aids such as Dika and echo sounder. In narrow waters and during the final stage of an anchorage, and the delays inherent in fixing are unacceptable to the BPO. The following principles apply. Number 1. The navigating officer should navigate or pilot the ship. The captain should have easy access to the blind pilotage position and the NO. The ship should be conned from the compass platform because it is only the bridge that the feel of the ship can be retained. The captain, blind safety officer, officer on watch, and the officer in charge of the anti-collision place should all be carefully briefed before the passage by the NO so that they are all entirely familiar with the visual blind plan. Number 5. Navigational charts with the NO's prepared visual blind plan must be available on the bridge and in the operations room. 6. The whole pilotage team should be exercised as frequently as possible in clear water in visual and blind techniques. Only in this way can the necessary confidence in the system be built up, which will allow runs of some complexity to be conducted safely in blind conditions. 7. The BSO should be closed up on all occasions of entering and leaving harbor and passenger through narrow waters when special sea duty men are closed up. The BP team should be regarded as part of special sea duty men. 8. There should be good communication between the blind pilotage position and the BSO and personnel manning navigational aids fitted elsewhere. Number 9. All members of the team should be encouraged to admit any doubts they may have regarding the information acquired from senior. Blind pilotage planning. Number 1. Normal planning considerations for selection of tracks apply. Blind and visual tracks should be the same to enable the transition from visual to blind or vice versa to the made at any time, and also to allow one plan to be used to cross-check the other. Number 2, the number of course alteration should be kept to a minimum to reduce the workload in redrawing parallel and upwheel over lines. Number 3, always try to have two parallel index lines where possible one of each side of the track. This provides a check on measurement, mark identification, and can reveal index or linearly errors.
Good day, sir. This is Midshipman Berta Junat. Today, I will be presenting the next report, continuing the discussion from my groupmate's previous report on blind pilotage planning. 4. Objects to be used both for parallel index lines and for fixing must be carefully selected. They should be rather conspicuous and unchanged by verifying heights of tide, clearly marked on the chart the objects to be used for fixing and brief the assistant. Avoid, if possible, fixing be rather range and bearing on the single mark. 5. The range scales to be used require carefully consideration. Accuracy is greater at shorter ranges, but marks pass more quickly than at a distance. When operating on short-range scales, it is essential that the blind pilotage officer frequently switches to longer ranges to keep aware of developing situations. Changes of range scales and parallel index marks should be pre-planned and marked in the notebook. The stage at which charts will be changed must also be carefully considered. Next slide, please. 6. Tidal streams and currents should be worked out and noted for calculation of courses to steer and for the calculation of AP. This should be displayed on the chart and recorded in the notebook. 7. Expected soundings, allowing for height of tide and calibration of echo sounder, should be noted for each leg. The possibility of being early or late should also be borne in mind. 8. All hazards along the track should be boxed in by clearing ranges and their cross-index ranges listed in the notebook. 9. Details of all lights and fog signals should be taken from the Admiralty list of lights or chart and entered in the notebook. Next slide, please. 10. The chart should be drawn up using standard symbols. See Table 2. In the Table 2, you can see the standard symbols of blind pilotage chart work. 11. The notebook should contain the full plan, neatly and legibly recorded in the chronological order. Sketches of both chart and radar display, see Figure 3, can be of great assistance to the blind pilotage officer in evaluating the picture. 12. Tracks plotted for entering and leaving harbor should not appear on the same chart simultaneously, otherwise confusion will arise. 13. Clearing ranges should be simple, safe, and easily interpreted. 14. Objects used for wheelovers should be conspicuous, easily identifiable, and suitably located adjacent to the track. Next slide, please. Blind pilotage execution. 1. Carry out a time check to synchronize clocks and watches. 2. On the radar display, keep one set of parallel index lines drawn up ahead of those in use. Any more will clutter and display excessively. Rub out lines as soon as they are finished with. 3. Identify contacts early by range and bearing from charted object. An accurate AP is a most useful aid in identification. 4. Fix at frequent intervals and immediately after a change of course. DR, AP ahead. A suitable fixing procedure are the following. Blind pilotage officer, assistant, standby fix in 1 minute. Blind pilotage officer, Roger using points ABC. Blind pilotage officer, assistant writes this in notebook. BPO or the BPO assistant fix now. Blind pilotage officer marks the point on face of the display. BPO assistants note the time. Blind pilotage officer then arranges of the marks drawn on display and passes these to the blind pilotage officer assistant. Blind pilotage officer assistant records the ranges, plots the fix, and generates fresh DR and AP. 5. Ship speed. One of the factors affecting the choice of ship speed will be the rate at which the blind pilotage officer and his assistant are capable of dealing with the radar information. 6. Commentary and cunning advice. Maintain a steady, unhurried, and precise flow of information to the command are the following. distance on track, course to maintain or regain, distance and time to the next wheel over, new course, present new course clear of shipping, adjacent marks or hazards, expected lights and sound signals, expected depth and echo sounding, minimum depths, when fixing and result of fix, AP to the next alteration, maneuvering limits, example 5 cables clear to starboard, 1 cable to port, if any doubt, say so, and if necessary, stop the ship. Next slide please. 7. It must be appreciated that whatever the technique employed, a drift offline is likely to be detected less readily by the radar than by visual methods. It is important to understand that no matter what method is used, radar is likely to detect a change in direction compared to visual methods. 8. It is vital to pay attention to the echo sounder and the least depth expected. The nearest land is usually the bottom. It is important to pay attention to the depth finder and the expected shallowest depth. The closest land is usually the ocean floor. Next slide please. Blind pilotage exercise. To improve the reality of blind pilotage exercises in clear weather, the following points should not be forgotten. Safe speed should be maintained. Maintaining a safe speed is crucial for road safety. It allows drivers to react promptly to unexpected situations, reduces the severity of accidents, and ensures better control of the vehicle, promoting overall safety for everyone on the road. Fixes should be recorded and plotted at the same frequency as for actual blind pilotage. Fixes are navigation points to help guide a plane or ship. They need to be recorded and plotted as often as the actual blind pilotage, which is when the pilot navigates without being able to see. A full debrief should take place on completion of the practice. This is the end of my report. Your time and attention are appreciated, sir. Stay tuned for the final report from my groupmate, Michipman Busayong Mario. Once again, I'm Michipuman Berto Janet, wishing you a pleasant day and may God bless you.
Blind anchorage. A blind anchorage should be planned in the same way as the visual anchorage, but remember to allow stem to radar instead of stem to standard. When plotting a let go position, the parallel index should be used to guide the index to the anchorage position, and she must stay backed in by clearing ranges. Distance to run can be obtained by using the dead range on a suitable object ahead, or by measuring the progress of the radar conspicuous object along the parallel index line. Full details must be shown on the chart and the notebook. Distance to run must be marked on the face of the display. This can be backed up by the range strobe, but reliance on the strobe alone is dangerous because the references is lost as soon as the strobe is required for any other measurements. Navigational records. When carrying out the blind piloted passage, the navigating officer or BPO will be too busy to maintain a continuous written record. It is essential that such a record should be kept, and comparatively unrestricted waters, it is normally sufficient for this record to be kept on the chart itself by plotting fixes and noting the position and time of alteration of course and speed and other relevant data. In addition, the record in the navigational record book. This procedure involving through the methodical chart work is in fact no different from that which should be practiced during the pilotage passage. In more restricted conditions, however, the navigating officer or BPO running commentary to the captain should be recorded on the tape if possible. For example, a no 7 boys fine port bow, 8 cables, a ship 50 yards to port, track, steer 136 turkane. In conjunction with the navigating officer or BPO prepared notebook, the chart, and the record book fixed and course and speed. This record should be suffice for any subsequent analysis required. Horizontal displays. Where horizontal displays are available in the operation room, the whole passage may be prepared in advance on a series of overlays. The BSO assistants changing this at appropriate times. The drawback of this method is that all tracking and other additional marks made by the BSO are lost at each change. With most horizontal displays in use in the Royal Navy, the picture is not sufficiently precise for accurate blind pilotage and should not be used. Conclusion: for merchant ships, the regulations for pilotage are laid down by the national authority or the shipping company, and in the orders for the port concerned. Recommendations on pilotage are also made from time to time by IMO. Regulations for merchant ships frequently require compulsory pilotage, although masters who have considerable knowledge for a particular port may be exempted for that port, as may be certain ships regularly trading on the coast concerned. In most ports, is the useful practice for the pilot to take full control of the handling of the ship between the pilot boarding place or usual shown on the chart and the berth. The general aim of the master should be to ensure that the expertise of the pilot is fully supported by the ship bridge, and the officer of watch is required to cooperate closely with the pilot and keep an accurate check on the vessel's position and movements. If there is any doubt as to pilot's action and intentions, this should be clarified immediately. If any doubt still remains, it is up to the master and/or the officer of the watch to take appropriate action to ensure the safety of the ship.